Hey, everyone. Welcome to season 4 of Tea with the Supremes.
Oh my goodness, season 4.
Ooh, season
So
4.
excited.
Julie here, Cassandra, Savannah, and Ebony, and we are excited that you are back for yet another season with us.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Hey everyone.
I missed you, virtual fam. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah, we didn't want to be gone too long because we didn't want you to miss us too much. So we are back and ready to get into it. And as we approach season 4, we thought it'd be interesting to talk about our goals after graduation, because as you've been with us throughout this process, you know, we're moving through some graduate programs and we are nearing the end. So we have to think about what life means after we're done. What do you guys have? What are you guys thinking about once we're thinking about this topic?
First of all, it's crazy to even say that we're almost done with our master's program. Like, I was sitting and just thinking the other day, which I tend to do a lot of, but I was just like, damn, like I'm gonna be a real counselor. Like, a real counselor. And I texted my mom and she's so funny. She's like, you've already helped me so much. Like, you're gonna be fine, you're gonna be great. Just like affirming that I'm going into the right field. So I'm just really excited to like have my first like official caseload and get paid for that caseload. Yeah, I'm ready to actually make a change in people's lives and help people transform.
I literally never thought that the end was gonna come. Like it felt like we're going on 2 years now, or some of us have passed that 2-year mark, and it's just it feels like it went by really quick, but at the same time it feels like we've been doing this for so long, longer than almost 2 years or 2 years. And I like Cass. I'm so excited to get into the real part of this job, like really work with people and just start receiving the benefits of all this hard work that I've been putting in. And for me, like I've been working inside my house now for almost 5 years and working with little tiny kids. So I'm really excited to work with either older kids or adults. We'll see what the future has in store for me, but I'm excited to work outside of my house again and see and just feel what that's like again. I totally forgot.
I have questions. First, just a comment to clarify to our listeners, the way our program works too is we do quarters, so we only get a couple weeks off between quarters and that's it. So we've been continually in school for the past 2 years. It's not
No summer breaks.
yeah, so we have been living this life for quite some time. But as you said that, as you're planning to leave your house for the first time and like be out, what does that mean for your business?
Well, as of right now, for the practicum portion, we'll be staying open and I have a helper. So I'll be doing practicum 2 days a week. And then those 2 days, my helper will be here. And then the other days that I'm not doing practicum, I'll be doing the daycare. So it's going to be chaos, but
What's the ultimate goal? Dual business owner?
I don't know. Like, I don't have any time where I intend to close the daycare. I guess it's just like I have a bunch of kids who are going to be, entering preschool at the same time. They're all like 1, 2. So I feel like I might want to wait for them because I've had them since they were such babies. So it's like you get attached to those kids too, and it'll be hard to say bye to them. And so as long as my helper wants to be here and help, it really depends a lot on that too. So there's just a lot of factors to consider.
Ebony's got things to say. Go for it, Ebony. She's been nodding, shaking her head no the entire time.
So I have been shaking my head no the entire time. I think we all started together. Our 2-year anniversary is coming up next month. Will be for me. It'll be 2 years since the genesis of this program. And life has afforded me, maybe afforded is not the right word, the opportunity. So I've taken a couple of extra classes and I'm a bit ahead of the group. So they're very excited to get to this point of getting a caseload and seeing clients. And I'm at the beginning of that part. And no, it's not all that exciting. Let's just tell you, that's not true. Okay, so it is very different being back out in the world. For our virtual Supremes, I, for the a lack of a better something, took a sabbatical from my previous job. So I haven't had to be in the real world working, and coming back into the real world post, not that COVID is gone, but post COVID and COVID measures, the implementation of COVID measures is very interesting. It is definitely a concern because people are unique, we'll say that. And I've always been an individual that, please respect my boundaries and my personal space. So the mask was just something additional because I would have loved to do that 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago. So I'll be the person that always has a mask on because I don't really like people breathing on me. So that's been an experience. And transitioning from academia to real world is thrilling, and it has its element of excitement, but it is terrifying. And man, real world is different. It's very, very different. Seeing clients, understanding the weight of the responsibility that's on you, it's just different putting it into perspective. So looking at the end for me is confusing because now that I'm in it, I have no idea what the end looks like. Like, I know graduation will happen and all of the Supremes are continuing on into their doctoral programs, and I have no idea. I don't even know what the goal is anymore. Like, the goal line has changed so much in just the few weeks of being in the throes of this that I have no idea what that looks like. Like, whatever I wanted before I started is definitely not what I want now that I'm in it.
That's interesting. And I wonder if we'll have similar perspectives once we're in practicum and internship, because I mean, I'm set on going into my doc program 100%. That's a non-negotiable. And now we're all going to move to hopefully the same state and take over the world actually in person together. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, whatever it is, I want to be with you guys by my side.
Oh, woo, woo, woo. I will say I wavered on the doc program a little bit. I went back and forth, and I'm still going back and forth because where I want to go versus what doc programs are available right now is still a decision to be made. However, being out in the real world of this solidified the fact that I have to have a doctorate degree in order to do, like, we knew that. How I proceed in that doc program, that's still up in the air, but it is imperative now that I'm out here to understand that I have to. And really, I was under the impression that I would wait a little while, maybe, get my footing some more, get a bit more experience. But just this short amount of time has said, no, you can't do that. Like, as soon as you're done, like, I'll be ready to fill out my application for the doc program before I graduate. Like, it's just, and graduation comes a little bit earlier for me than it does for the other Supremes. But yeah, it's that's clear now. If it wasn't clear before, it's 100% clear now.
Yeah, my perspective is always different on goals, dreams and goals anyways. So I just take everything as it comes. I have no idea what I want to do other than just keep experiencing whatever opportunities come up wherever that goes. So that's what I intend on doing. It's been awesome so far. It's definitely not what I thought I would be doing when I entered the program. Now I definitely foresee myself more in an advocacy for mental health, advocacy for the profession itself, teaching, speaking, that sort of arena, more than actual clinical practice. But like I said, I'm very much like go with where life takes me. So we will see. And hopefully when I graduate, I will be living in a much warmer place. So that is on the to-do list. But that's all I know of.
That's always interesting when I hear the Supremes as we converse with each other and with you, virtual fam, because I am not in this area of my life. Am I a just let me sit back and see how it goes? I am not detailed in other areas of my life, but this area needs to be planned and executed in a manner that is very methodical, let's say it that way, because this is an expensive undertaking and this is a time consuming undertaking. This is not for the faint of heart. Classes and hours of work and extracurriculars to not just survive graduate school but thrive in graduate school. And so the name of the podcast is not just a play on words. We really are supreme, not to and not to be in an arrogant manner, but each of us in a dual master's program, two, and we all have 4.0s. Like we have been putting in mad work, so that level of dedication for me requires some very specific planning. And the thing with this field, even because there's such a vastness of the field and what you can do, getting into the throes of doing it completely shifted how I see life after graduation. And a matter of fact, if I'm honest, that shift happened, it began to happen. That evolution of Ebony and evolution of self, it began by the time we were done with our first quarter. And I was like, man, this is not what I expected, or I'm not even sure what my expectation was, if I can think back, because it feels like a lifetime ago. And life is so different. We started, I don't want to say pre-pandemic, but we started at the beginning of lockdown. We started at the beginning of not even understanding, just knowing what COVID was. That's when we started. My first day of class was April. So we were just here. We were just going into lockdown. And life is so different post-COVID now. Mental health is so different post-COVID. It has become almost the buzzword, so now everybody is seeking, well, not everybody, but a lot of people, and the things that are presenting in counseling sessions are vast, let's just say that. And so the need now, the understanding of the needs is so much greater that I don't want to be limited to one something. It has now, some of the opportunities that Julie talked about, that we have been afforded, have opened my understanding. Like I have a different understanding of just than just a global perspective. Like some of the things that have been brought to the forefront are so much bigger than where I started and where I thought I would impact. So I go back to the same thing of saying, I don't know what that life looks like, because there's so much more now I understand to do.
Well, and it's so crazy because like the person I was when I started grad school and the person I am now, I don't want to say I'm completely different, but my perspective on not only the profession, but like a lot of stuff in my personal life has completely shifted, right? So with that shift, also my goals shifted for my future as well. So I'm just really like, I don't know. I just want to take over the world with you guys, as Jules would say. Plan for world domination. Um, no, but I totally agree. Like, I never thought that I would want to go into play therapy. And then Ebony started talking about play therapy. And I found out my site has a certified play therapist in which I would be able to get certified and do my hours under them post graduation. So it's just like all these opportunities are going to start coming my way. And I'm just, all we can do is grab them, you know? It's, and that's the big thing about grad school. Like, I would have never networked with as many people had it not been for these wonderful women I'm on this podcast with. Maybe that's not the full truth, but I'm a very introverted person sometimes. So, yeah, I think just networking and learning from other people, going to conferences, like I really want to go to in-person conference. That is my goal for 2023, at least 2023, is to go to an in-person conference so that I can network with a lot of people, not only in my area, but nationally, internationally. Yeah, I'm excited.
I feel like this program has definitely presented as an opportunity for growth. Like, I have grown so much while being in a graduate program, like in my personal life and my academic life and my career. Like, my goals have changed, my mentality has changed. I've improved in some areas, and although I'm much more stressed out, I feel like I've just changed a lot. Like, it's been such a learning experience and very challenging, just seeing what I'm able to do and achieving things that I had an idea like, yeah, I want to get my master's, but then one day, okay, let's freaking do it. Like, and I mean, my goal was to complete my master's by the time I turn 30, and I'll be 30 once I finish. But that was just the biggest push for me. And how I always tell my friends, like, nobody, like, this timeline that you're living by is what you created for yourself. Like, there's no timeline to say this is when you have to finish this is when you have to finish that. Like, stop comparing yourself to what other people's are doing. Like, as long as you achieve these goals that you are setting for yourself, that's all that matters. Just do it for you and don't compare yourself to other people. So trying to live by what I preach, trying to practice what I preach. And yeah, just like I've grown so much, and I know there's so much more growth to do throughout the rest of this program and upon completion.
I love what you said about the timeline, because not only like comparing yourself to other people, but also like your own timeline. Like you put these expectations on yourself, like I have to do this by then. But then look at all of the amazing opportunities we've had, and like I'm fully on board to seize whatever, you know. I'm like, my program is slow rolling and I'm totally cool with that, because I'm in a space where I can maximize a million opportunities, and our network is so strong in this space that more time here is not going to hurt me in any way other than the pocket, but I'll figure that part out later.
And you don't sleep either, so
Yeah.
No, so nocturnal.
Different podcasts, but I am now trying out biphasic sleeping. I'm doing a personal research study on biphasic sleeping, and I'll let you know after a while how it goes.
I'm just gonna say I don't think that meets the qualifications of a personal research. So I really I'm just saying. To Savannah's point though, and I can't say anything because I'm in this phase of not sleeping myself. But to Savannah's point, even with the four of us, if I could convey anything to our virtual supremes, that timeline and holding yourself to something is so critical, because even with the four of us, if I did that, I'll be 45 when I graduate. Well, I'll be 44. I'll be getting ready to turn 45 when I graduate. And for me, if I became discouraged by the timeline of my counterparts, then that would deter me completely in that respect, because I would be for me, everything would be out of order and it wouldn't make sense. So, understanding that this is very subjective and you create your goals and then you create steps. Be productive and at whatever level your production is. There's a quote which I was going to use that I'm not going to use now, but it says something along the lines of, once you get up off the couch, even if you only make it around once, you've made steps for whatever task or whatever it is that you're doing. Don't get discouraged by some of the things or take some of the things that we say out of context. Create your own schedule, create your own goals. Go back and listen to that podcast from season 1 where we talked about goal setting and what happens. And you create SMART goals, make them measurable, make them realistic. You know, if you didn't get your GED yet, don't sit up here and say you jumping into this dual master's program. Like, that's not the expectation. Be reasonable with yourself and understand that there is no one's timeline but yours. And then give yourself some grace in the process, because there have been a lot of missteps along the way, hence being 45, or will be 45 by the time I graduate. But that's just been the lived experience and what it is. So please hear us, but tailor this to you and create your own set of expectations and values for yourself and what's important, however you want to change, because change comes very large and change comes very small. The fact that I am sitting here doing this podcast at this point, that is a place of growth, and probably it wasn't a goal of mine, but it became a goal. So as you evolve, those goals evolve, and that timeline should shift and evolve with you so that you can measure your growth and see that growth. And it's not, no one else dictates that for you. It is simply how you move and how you shift and where you see that you need to develop and keep evolving. So if you don't get anything else, remember that. Don't hold yourself to anyone else's timeline. Don't hold yourself to anyone else's set of goals and dreams, even if yours are the same, because part of our goals are shared and similar, but then there are aspects for each of us that have shifted, and part of the influence one on another, and it's shifted. You hear each of us talk about how Jules pushes and creates these opportunities, and some of them are not really what we want to do. However, the end goal makes complete sense. And it's like, okay, this is another shared experience that we now can use this lived experience to understand the next step, the next level, whatever the case may be. So don't hold yourself accountable to anyone else's goals.
I think that's really important, because you need to find people who support your timeline, even if it doesn't match up with yours, if that makes any sense. Jules said, like, she's on a slower timeline, but she's still going to support us and we're still going to support her. Like, we all have somewhat of a common goal, even if there's different directions that we're going to go with it. But I think the most important thing is to find that support system, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be cohorts, you know, that support your timeline at whatever pace you're going at.
Can I say that again for the people in the back?
I agree, but I think it's more not even the timeline. It's really just supporting people for what they're trying to accomplish, regardless of what pace or whatever, but just supporting people for what they're trying to do in whatever capacity they're trying to do it. And we definitely do that for each other. So I think it's definitely helped with the program, make the program more bearable, because it is difficult. But I love it. I've had like, there's just so many opportunities. And one thing, Ebony was saying that she, started this program later in life and that there had been some missteps. For me, it's so interesting because I had a whole career, not one that I intended, but I had, and I continue to be employed in that field. And I loved it. And I was successful, and I really didn't need to switch careers. But this is more like a for me thing. And I feel like it happened the way it was supposed to happen. I feel like in so many different ways, I'm so much better equipped for the experiences that I've had that were completely unrelated to what I'm trying to do now. But I have so many skill sets that I wouldn't have had I not had the trajectory of my life the way that it was. So that's why I go with the flow. I think just don't be too hard on yourself as you progress, and just, you might not see the point, as they were saying, I push them to do things sometimes that they're like, why? You're torturing me. But sometimes you don't realize why you're doing it in the moment. And then after the fact, you're like, oh, this did a lot for me for these reasons that you might not even see going in. So just embrace life and the opportunities.
My cough drop rapper says, don't give up on you. I think that's very fitting for today's podcast.
I didn't know there were sayings on cough drop rappers.
Me either. I got a package with cute little quotes on it. Of course I would.
That's so Cass. That's so Cass. I think, to both Cass and Julie's point, I think both carry their own weight. I do think that the lived experience, I'm very big on the lived experience. I think in part experience is the best teacher. I wholeheartedly agree with that. It's not the only teacher, but I definitely think it is the best teacher for me and for how I process things. And I will say the evolution of Ebony, because this is, as much as we share an experience, this is an individualistic something. And had I tried this 10 years ago, had I tried this 5 years ago, I would not have been as successful as I am now. There's a place that I am at now where this makes sense. Some of life's issues wouldn't have allowed me to do and give the time and the energy, because this is a job. Even if we didn't do the extra things that we do, that's another job in and of itself. Sometimes I look at Cass and Savannah and I'm like, dear God. And I don't take that, Jules as well, because Jules really, like, she doesn't stop. And I'm like, man, I've done it. I've lived it already. I went to school full-time, worked full-time, was a full-time parent. I don't want to do that again. And I didn't want to do that again. So there's an added level of respect that I give to them. But I'm going to go back to Cass's point and say that even getting the support from whomever, whatever that circle is, these folks have become family to me. So I think the timeline, not holding people to that time, I think that's important too, because I can say from my own experience, people have known me my entire adult life, and their comment is always, you still in school? You back in school? Because I'm always in school for something, right? I'm always doing something, or when they see me, I'm back at it again, doing something else. Because for me, that Cash just said professional student. I called myself a professional student for 10 years. Like it is very true. And to their assumption, I should have been done, or why are you back in school? What else? Oh, that's how they love to say Ebony is extra. You back in school getting something else? You're right. Because every time, for me, every time I make it to a level, I understand when I want to cross the threshold to make it to the next level, that whatever I'm lacking I need the knowledge to gain. That's how I made it into this position, or I am just bettering myself to make it, to better understand, better do, accomplish, whatever the case may be. So I think in others' support of you, sometimes they hold you to that timeline and they're like, well, you should have been done. I thought, man, you still take it. You still, oh, I could never. Don't, those are not real supporters. So for those of you that are listening, yeah, I'm talking to you. You know me. Don't mix that up. You have to, as if you listen to previous podcasts, you'll know I say you should not always be the smartest person in the room. And we each have our own giftings and things of that nature. And there are areas where one of us excels and not another. Surround yourself with people, even if they're not in the same thing. We just happen to find each other in this weird bubble of graduate school. But find someone, find a collective, find someone to mentor you that pushes you to excel. It doesn't mean that excelling goes to graduate school, or you have to go get a PhD, or you have to do this. You may just take a class. You may take a different training. You may study to become an administrator or do another level. You find a group, whether that's a person that mentors you, whether you search out an organization or something like that. I really understand what support is and find that level, seek that out, seek that support out so that you have real support and it's not something that's disguised as something else.
Yeah, to that point, because as an introvert, that is much easier said than done. But to Ebony's point, recognize if the people around you are inspiring you or motivating you, or if they are doing the converse. And if they are bringing you down, or just not supportive, or just pessimistic, or don't understand what you're doing, or just have like backhanded comments, even if it's unintentional, if you can't find a support system, distance yourself from those people that are most detrimental, even if it's little things. I can say for me personally, that did wonders for me, because you make these small changes to distance yourself from the negative energy, and then you realize that a lot of your thought processes were guided by other influence, and maybe you weren't able to think as clearly about what it was that you were trying to do. So if you don't have a great support system, try to distance yourself. And that, like, I know that's difficult in itself sometimes, and cutting off negative relationships is also difficult. But if you create a distance in a negative space, it brings you some clarity to find what you're looking for, and then you can try to find that positive space, find those people that you look up to, and then work on engaging with them. And then that it just propels you into the future. You'll be able to do that more easily as you go on.
I also think the way that we speak to one another engages in that conversation of support. So like, even if I'm talking to you guys or a coworker where I work right now has nothing to do with what I'm going to be doing in my field, I always ask, like, how can I support you? Tell me more about what you're working on right now. Just showing even just that little bit of engagement, it can impact a person's day or life. Had I not been so incredibly blessed with the amazing support system I have, I don't know where I would be today. So always engaging in that positive conversation, because I think I'm the type of person who believes where, like, if you have that conversation with somebody, they're going to take that little piece and then pass it on to the next person. And it's kind of just like a domino effect of positivity. It's just positive little Cass, always seeing little doe-eyed Cass. But yeah, one conversation can change 3 people's days.
So we're talking about our goals after graduation, and just kind of how we got here, and how we're all fairly optimistic for the future. if you have one wish of something that you'd like to see for yourself, what would that be? And it doesn't necessarily have to be specific to school.
I wish to live a life where my anxiety doesn't stop me from bettering myself and my career, which I am working on. So baby steps.
You'll get there.
I think I'm simple. I wish for balance. As I get further in this, I realize that I do not have sufficient balance. So I would like to see a balanced life.
I think I wish to be more of a go with the flow person. Like, I'm very big planner and this has to be done by this, and if it's not done and I'm not taking steps towards it, I get very stressed out. So I think just not being so hard on myself and just taking things as they come.
I'm very much that too. I go where opportunities arise, but I am very big on like deadlines and stuff like that. That's super important to me. So I get that. As I asked this question, I don't know. I really just want to be in a place where I am financially very comfortable in that I can explore whatever opportunities are left to explore. I feel like I have so many ways that I want to help people on a larger scale, and life and kids and responsibilities, they all come with financial drawbacks. So I want to get to a place where that is not a concern and I can just, as Cass says, take over the world.
Wahahaha.
So with that, we're reaching the end of our first episode of season 4. Cass, start us off with some great mindfulness.
So everybody take a mindful breath and breathe through your stomach, not your chest. See, so much better. And that's how we're going to be doing our mindful breaths now, is diaphragmatic breathing. So with this week's mindfulness, I thought I would go into mindful goal setting because we are talking about goals and what we want to achieve post-graduation. So non-striving is one of the 7 principles of mindfulness, and it is a way to accept ourselves as we are. So when we set our goals, we're not accepting ourselves as we are in the present moment. We're hoping to create a new and improved version of ourselves. I thought was very interesting. So there's 5 steps to mindful goal setting. So finding your presence during a stressful time. It's really important to remain true to who you are. Settle your mind. So breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, breathing through your stomach, not your chest. That's something that I've recently learned. So when most of us take a deep breath, we lift our shoulders, we puff our chest up, but the most relaxing form of a breath is keeping all of that relaxed and breathing through your diaphragm. And it has completely shifted my mindfulness. So give it a try. So connect with your heart. So placing one hand on your heart and place attention on your innermost desires. Visualization. So imagine the moment that the dreams are already yours, and make sure you affirm it. So write it down, seal your resolutions by writing them down. And that's a great way to hold yourself accountable. And it's something you can go back to. And when you achieve those goals, you can check it off and write down a new goal and be mindful of that new goal.
Very cool. When you did the hand on the heart thing, it reminded me of an episode of, what is it, Good Girl? What is it called? Anyways. Ebony, what do you have for a quote for us this week?
First of all, I have no idea what Good Girls is, but as we say in church, Cass was all in my message because she all in my business for my quote. So by an amazing unknown author. They're amazing, so I'll take credit for it. And the quote simply says, "A dream written down with a date becomes a goal broken down into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by your action makes your dream come true." Dream it, think it, write it, and attain it.
Love.
Or Cassandra with a big grin on her face. Did I just call you Cassandra?
Don't call me Cassandra.
I'm
Cassandra or Cassie. Just
I'm gonna edit that out.
don't trigger me like the water again.
I meant to show you.
Listen.
We have our Poland Springs water. It was just, that's so funny because that's the one time we didn't have it, and the only time I've ever brought water on camera, ever. And that was, it was a triggering
She made
moment. But
me
anyway,
so angry.
so
Anyway.
funny. Anyways, as we close out this episode, Savannah, can you leave us with some fantastic self-care?
I mean, first of all, enjoy the water you want to enjoy. Just kidding.
Except for Aquafina and Dasani. Can't enjoy those waters.
Oh man. So my self-care this week is something that I'm working on personally. For one of our classes, we were asked to abstain from something, and I decided to not use Facebook. So my self-care is for you guys to refrain from social media for 24 hours.
Cass is nodding. She just
Yeah, no,
agrees.
that's a good mindfulness tool too.
Unless you're liking our stuff, and then feel free. No. It's just-
Exactly.
You can go on
Podcast
to
listening
Spotify and
is
listen to
fine.
the podcast.
Anyways, thank you for being here. Season 4, we're going to incorporate some new fun things this season, and we are so happy that everyone is back with us, and we will see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
We out, Supremes. Set goals. We out.